It's like he disappeared in the thin air. That was crazy. How did you do that?
Look, that's his internet, right?
Or something.
I got it. I'm straight. My door.
Bro, when I tell you like none of that transition was there, you were gone, and then you were
back. Yeah,
like
you was no bullshit. It was like you was on some Bewitched type shit.
Yeah, dude, like that shit was wild.
Shout out to whoever that one person is on the Chopper Show right now that's tuned in, man.
You know.
Say,
yeah, man, y'all go ahead and come in, bring it in. We got a very interesting show, man. Very interesting show today. I know I'm on here looking kind of rough. Shit.
It is what it is, man. We out here.
Hey, anybody North Hollywood, man, if y'all know any black barbers out here that's not charging $60 for a cut, holla at me. Shout out to the boy Blue in the building.
I'm pay that 60 for that cut, man. That's what it's nigga. That's the market.
Hey, and the fucked up thing about it, like I got the best haircut I ever got in Dallas. For my brother's wedding, dog. Like it was the greatest haircut I had ever received, like ever.
But just like all good things was come to an end. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I know it's a nigga out here with some skills like that though.
Yeah, man. Yeah, make sure y'all come in though, man. We're about to have this conversation about Brother Polight. I know a lot of people have been asking about the Brother Polight. I also recognize too, it's a lot of folks that don't know who the hell this person is as well. So you know what I mean? I feel like when it comes to the conversation we about to have, it's gonna be very contextual to how there's a lot of folks that's asking about him, but there's also a lot of folks that don't know who the hell he is. And I think that when it comes to the paradox of black leadership, I feel like that's usually you know what I mean?
Right, baby Cook in the building, Stephanie in the building. We all the way out there on the East Coast. And I know it's late for y'all, so we definitely appreciate the love when y'all coming out from the East Coast for sure. For sure. Make sure y'all say what's up as y'all come in so we can say what's up to y'all. You feel
Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Blue. Baby Oku. Shout out to y'all, man. Everybody love from Boston, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody else jump in the chats, jump in the comments, tell us what's going on with you. We're gonna talk a little bit Sha'Carri too, right? So that's the name you should be a little bit more familiar with. Is talking about Sha'Carri Richardson. So we'll take a dabble back into what's been going on with her here recently and kind of throw some business out there. But pop on in and say what's up, see what's good. What's up, Ed? What's going on? What's going on?
Building. Whether you hear from Facebook, whether you hear from YouTube, Chop Up Show YouTube, or Consciously YouTube, man, we appreciate y'all for showing up.
What's up, Iggy?
Absolutely. I think Ig out on the East. Jessica repping from St. Louis.
Jessica repping from St. Louis.
New Eric King said, "Why we even wasting our time?" We're gonna get to that. We're gonna talk about why it's even worth our breath to even.
Look, he been on the internet talking about that nigga while he ready to do that.
You know, you're gonna pop in and add something.
He probably seen, he didn't heard a lot about him, or he talking about him. I imagine, you know.
Oh yeah, Iggy did say he was in Atlanta. He in hot Atlanta,
which is technically it's on the eastern in the Eastern time zone. You know, so maybe not the Eastern to the south.
Yeah, but
Southeastern.
Ain't no telling where his body at right now. You feel me?
You know what I'm saying?
Or his mind, I should say.
Astro, what's good with you? Fire flames back at you, family.
We're gonna let a few of y'all come in here, man, before we go ahead and get that thing started. Enlighten Hugh in the building. Appreciate you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Get it together. Yeah. It's the chop up, man. It's the chop up. It's been a long day for all of us, clearly.
Oh yeah.
It's been a long day for all of us, clearly, but we're not letting another Monday go by. Or any Monday go by without us dropping some knowledge. We was here last week.
What up, Supercell Gaming Channel?
We back on it. Shout out to Supercell. We back on it.
Supercell. Shout out to Supercell, man. We definitely own it.
So,
you know.
So really, shout out to Brown Girl Life. Really, without further ado, we could go ahead and get this thing started, get the ball rolling. George will be hosting for this evening, and so we're gonna go ahead and you know, we always got to start the show the way that we always start the show.
Yeah.
Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when I ride. Lit off Henny when I drive. In the city, we gon' slide. Bet I be there pronto.
Oh yeah, man. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the Chop Up Show. We know you're gonna keep it chopped up, never slopped up. It's your boy George Lee, aka Consciously. Don't forget the Lee. GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. You already know what time it is and who I'm with.
Hey, it's your girl Toya G. Another Monday with the gang up in this thing. Happy to be with y'all, doing what it is that we need to do. We got to connect. We got to handle business. Chopped up, never slopped up, like Lee said. You know, I'm in the building. Got somebody else with us though. Who else?
Hey, y'all know what it is, man. It's Damo, the political plug. I need to be chopped up because I'm looking kind of slopped up right now. But
Hey, it's all good.
We here. You know, we're about to get it in. You feel me? Let's focus on the dialogue and not what's going on around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shout out to Brown Girl Life. Definitely glad you got to catch us too. Aaliyah Don, always a pleasure to have you up in here. And I know, you just threw an amen in there because it's already been a long week. It's just, I don't know. I think that transition from summer to fall is one where you kind of unknowingly pulling yourself to, and transitioning to just a new season, a new frame of mind, new frame of reference. So it could be a little hectic. Emac, what's good with you?
And it hits you ugly. It's never a smooth transition. Like the thing about summertime is like you go from kicking it to, you know what I'm saying? It's like you back to business as usual. Even as adults, like summertime still, you know what I mean? Your frame of mind.
I live one of the things I've never, as an adult, I've never lived life outside of like a school time frame. So like, I don't know nothing about that. Like my summer is very programmed. So when it comes to an end, it comes to a very real abrupt end. Like this is my last free night as a person who belongs to myself before I start classes again and begin, a whole nother semester of the 16-week march to another break. You know what I'm saying? So when you live that life of an automatic summer and a lot of automatic fall and the seasons change very automatically. It can be rough. The transitions be a little bit more fixed, if you will.
Yeah. So it's and y'all dealing. The difference is these people are teachers. I'm not a teacher, so it don't hit me as hard, but it low key hit. You know what I'm saying? Pretty heavy. So shout out to all them teachers out there, especially with everything that's going on. It's like we in a pandemic, but it's like we acting like we not. You feel me? It's like y'all know how people be in a relationship, and it's like y'all boyfriend and girlfriend, but y'all like nah, we ain't together like that. But it's like yes, y'all are. You know what I'm saying? It's like we still in this pandemic, and we acting like it's just nigga, we in the pandemic, so we here. I'm ready to get it in.
What's up, Khadijah? Pika Promise Life. New Eric Kang. I ain't looking for no sympathy, baby. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm just explaining how it feels when you go from one isolation to the next. So don't never get it messed up. But I understand perseverance is key.
Check that nigga.
It's love from me to you. But it ain't rough out here. I'm just calling it like it is. And Aaliyah Don said, from fun to business, whether it's school for you or school for the kids, work feels differently from summer to fall. You are racing to get everything done before the sun goes down, and the sun go down a whole lot earlier. Y'all wait till it's 5:15. It's dark to the mug outside. Y'all know them days is coming too. And it must be
Hey, Brown Girl Life. I do got some different dancing moves for the fall. You feel me?
He's lying.
I got a Harlem Shake for you.
He's lying. Hey, he pulling out the same Harlem Shake from 2 years ago. Do not think that is new, y'all.
Nah, the
going back into the catalog
from 11 years. What? It's 20 years ago when we was Harlem Shaking. I'm talking about that Harlem Shake.
We gonna see. Matter of fact, I want to see more dance battles because I think my baby Izzy, I think she got you beat, bro. My baby Izzy got you beat.
Factual.
Yeah. Tell her I said what's up, because now she be like,
Izzy in kindergarten now. Izzy in bed. She got school in the morning. Okay, she got something to do. She got somewhere to be tomorrow. Okay.
Well, let's get it. Go ahead, Lee.
Oh yeah, man. So without further ado, we know that the world was tuned in to what happened. You feel me? This past weekend in Oregon. Was it called the Belafonte race or some Belafont race or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's called the pre-Belafonte.
The pre-Belafonte race in Oregon.
The pre-Classic is what it's called, and it was in Eugene, Oregon. This past.
Eugene, Oregon. We know that Sha'Carri Richardson had a race. You feel me? You know what I mean? Along with a lot of other people, because all the other people finished before Sha'Carri. And there's been a lot of different jokes, a lot of different funny memes. You feel me? I ain't gonna cap before I give you my take a little bit because they're gonna jump right into it. You know what I'm saying? some of the stuff is funny, like the meme with her with the big shoes, with the big Timberland boots, and she in last. That was kind of funny. But just to jump right into it, do y'all find it funny that we just was talking about mental health and Simone Biles, and then we backdoored, and now we making fun of, you feel me, Sha'Carri, who just lost her mother and went through a whole, you feel me, thing where the whole world was there. I feel like, am I the only person that feel weird about that deal, or?
I think we go back and forth, and I want to make sure we shout out the people who won, right? The women from Jamaica definitely handled their business. Elaine Thompson-Herah, right, won the 100-meter race, as well as Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, who was the person who was highly speculated to plan on cooking her anyway, came in second. And I believe there was a third runner from Jamaica whose name I'm not familiar with. Sharika Jackson is her name, who finished third in the race. So Jamaica has cleaned it up, and I want to make sure we shout out all Black women, because even Sha'Carri said, I love all Black women. I love all women.
And that was the dominance that we saw regardless. Like, even though Sha'Carri's the story,
I want to make sure we out there, we got to say their names, you know what I'm saying, in life as well as in other circumstances. But giving roses where they at, they cook out there in that race. Now, in terms of mental health, and what we said, I think, we wishy-washy. We say a lot of things. I don't want to cross any topics over, but we also saw a Lizzo who was on social media crying because of how people was talking about her weight and her image. The same old story, just a different day, when we as a social media community said, oh, we saw what happened to Chadwick. We ain't gonna say no bad or no negative stuff no more about people's appearances. So when it comes to caring about certain issues, we play games. We go back and forth. It's a lot of wishy-washiness, and I think that it is sad that the sympathy we have for her one day, recognizing the grief of losing a mother and dealing with that. None of that. Nobody talks about the fact that she lost her mom, that all of this precipitated and all of this happened. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is talking about that part. And the story is getting all convoluted. And so it sucks because we're not paying attention to how we got Sha'Carri into our vocabulary as a household name in the first place.
Right. I mean, I think it's social media. Right, it's the bullshit that sells. It's the bullshit that gets the likes. It's the bullshit, you know what I mean? And I think it's like she's an easy target because of the culture war. To be honest, right? The relationship that American culture has with marijuana, the myth that it's this illegal drug and it's terrible, and all these other things. While there's billions of dollars being made off of it currently. You know what I mean? And the conversation of legalizing it and the impact that, the Olympics, people defending her. And then, there was a commercial that aired before the race, a Nike commercial where, she was being hurt, right? Like she was talking about, I'll be at the finish line if y'all need me type shit. And let's be for real. This society hates to see Black people talk they shit, period. And so when we talk the shit that we talk, the way that we talk it, people are waiting for us to fail. And that's essentially what happened with Sha'Carri. And unfortunately, it was, she came up short in the way that she came up short. But even though you have, a lot of people that's running their mouth, like, unfortunately, I don't associate myself with those type of people because I ain't seen them conversations, right? Most of what I've seen in terms of social media about Sha'Carri Richardson has been about, hey, damn baby girl, but hey, we with you on the next one though. You know what I'm saying? Like you still like our track and field star, right?
And
like,
see, I mean, I love your timeline because niggas is wishy-washy, they fake. You know what I'm saying? And that's what kills me about the memes and stuff like that, the memification of things. I
want to call out somebody in particular when you finish though, but go ahead.
It has always blown my mind how quick niggas are quick. Like when it comes to creating a meme for anything, we should be running the world. Like we should have IT, we should have digital media. We should be running all of that because when something happens, I'm talking about remixes of beans, greens, tomatoes. We got remixes, we got videos, we got memes, and it always seems like our energy. Sometimes it goes and we get some of our best cultural moments. You know what I'm saying? I remember December 12th, everybody gonna get their super like that was a lot of fun. But then it's moments like this, they get commemorated and held, and it's where we use our superpowers for evil instead of for good. You know what I'm saying? And I hate that because it's not just the world who is like, oh, I'm about to just roast you and get on your head and you look at what happened to you, whatever. it's specifically specifically black people who are just like, yep, don't feel sorry for you. Look at you. Ha ha. It's great to see you fail.
Yeah,
That's what you get. Like a lot of, I mean, I've seen so many people talking about that race, and saying that she was going to get cooked on, saying that she didn't have a chance, saying that you really going, and I mean, part of it is couch and truth. The women of Jamaica are fast, but a lot of it is because people wanted to humble her. Felt like she was too big and
they
too
wanted to humble her.
They needed to humble her. And so people didn't want to hear her being, boastful about her resurgence and how she was going to come back and handle business. People didn't want to, we had a different episode. Y'all make sure y'all go check out the Sha'Carri episode that we already got up, where we got into a lot of her comments. We got into what she said concerning Lil Nas X. We got into, a lot of those things. So she's added fuel to the fire in terms of her perception with other people. But all of it, bottom line, is a missed opportunity to show grace, to love on people, to meet people where they are, to take a champion and recognize it. This is what athletes do. Marshawn Lynch will talk his shit. Richardson will talk his shit.
Certain things, especially black women, we know.
You know what I'm saying? But when a black woman get up there and do it, it's rough. You know what I mean? And people don't want to peel back the layers and see how rough she getting treated. But old girl been getting did bad for like about the last month
for a minute, yeah. And I want to say this, right? Because this, and y'all know how I talk about like hero worship and all the bullshit, right? Like when we talk about sports, this is a large portion of the hypocrisy. Because I'm gonna get at niggas like Emmanuel Acho, you feel me? I'm gonna get at niggas like that in just a second. But sports is about perseverance. Our sports heroes are the people who we look at and see, like, look at what they overcame. Look at what, it wasn't about having an undefeated season. It wasn't about, other than Jordan, it's not about winning the championship every time you there, right? I think that's what makes Jordan, great like he is. But for everybody else, it's not about, always coming out on top. The greatest sports stories always have to do with where you came up short and how you learn from it. George, what was my mantra, bro, when it came to debate? You don't learn from winning. Like, that's not, you don't get better when you win. That it don't work like that, right? Because you have to understand what it's like to, like that feeling of you coming up short, how that drives the greats forward to be like that. The next time I'm in this moment, I'm gonna remember this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to look at her in this moment and be like, this is a moment where you should be less arrogant. Now you shouldn't talk as much. Now you shouldn't be as boastful. You don't know sports. You're not talking about a sports story.
Or if you're telling them they do know sports and they just have a special clause and or type of standard when it comes to how black women, particularly black women from the hood, should be able to be boastful. Because of what I see is the weaponization of respectability politics and a whole bunch of tone policing. And I think that because of the tone that she comes off in terms of being unapologetic and talking her shit in a way that's very, I feel like, textual to how we talk in the hood, especially with her Southern draw with it, I think that it leaves a nasty taste in people's mouth regardless of what she's talking about. And then when you add on, they feel like, Sha'Carri, you lost.
Yeah.
So you should be sad and you should be upset and you should be showing us that and because she did not, they feel like it wasn't respectable and therefore justify tone policing. And that's why everybody talking about humbling her and should, because I knew something was up when I was listening to the radio today and they was talking about the word professionalism and literally said because she said the word shit on live TV, she was messing the bag up and messing the money up and this, that, and the other. And I was thinking like, y'all going this far in terms of talking about professionalism and you really using it in the guise of respectability politics to try to shit on this black woman. If you think she lost and you've criticized her for losing, you can do that in her performance of the race, whatever, right? But when you start going into the character and start making a personal attack, that's when it started not sitting right with me.
I mean, I think, I was gonna say, I think, and it's a fine line we have to walk because this is also, we're in the era of the baby right? And unfortunate comments and how we start to deal with and navigate. Because Sha'Carri has said some things that have rubbed people the wrong way. It's
problematic.
It's literally her mouth has gotten her in trouble, which is how we
her
kind of look
fingers.
at her Twitter fingers. I mean, yeah. And so, a lot of people, again, another I think typecast the black girls is that she got a jazzy mouth anyway, you know what I'm saying? And like George said, with the hair and with
sassy,
the everything is amplified, right? But also, she, there were just some things that she was wrong about. Even in saying Lil Nas X, and I mentioned this comment before, extended grace to her. People was like, yeah, I think he even said today, like, yeah, I saw her comment. I still hope she's successful because she had tweeted that I basically hope Lil Nas fails at everything he does. Like you know what I'm saying?
If you follow Lil Nas X, unfollow me or something.
If you follow him, unfollow me or whatever. And she was like, I still want him to be, he said he still wanted her to be successful. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of, I say all this to say, I point out these comments, I bring up the baby, I bring up these conversations because we are still, when it's all said and done, forcing regular ass people who just are good at a thing to have to be perfect right before our very eyes. Now you get chances, but you only get so many. I feel like compared to the baby, which we've already analyzed and broken down why, his has been deemed as insincere and inauthentic. He hasn't been able to bounce back as fast. I think there's been a level of maturation that people are missing and skipping over and jumping over when it comes to her that have allowed for them to throw her away, right? Whole interviews from that weekend where she lost that race talks about how she loves black women, loves all women, is championing and celebrating all of them, does not feel bad, is not going to her head down.
A flag.
Regardless of what flag, what ethnicity, what community, what country, rather, you know what I'm saying? It's about just being excellent. And she's going to continue paying attention to her business and doing what she can. It's not the last we're going to see her, hear her, whatever.
Without a doubt.
What happens when we get so fixated on one moment? We don't look at the growth, the maturation, the development. We don't put hope, in some of these people. Because I don't even think the baby is completely hopeless. I don't have a lot of space for him. I think he was given a lot of space and a lot of bandwidth and did a lot of shit with it, like nothingness with it. So it's a little smaller, but I haven't, whatever. And that's just me and my own politic and orientation toward people being redeemable, right? That's me. I handle that. I'll eat that, right? But I just, the veracity, the aggression by which she's been thrown away. People, man, in these threads are just mean. You know what I'm saying? Like she just.
And speaking of mean people, and listen, this is the Chop Up is a growing platform. We do have a celebrity on here, but we growing as a platform as ourselves, right? So I'm about to talk to somebody who probably not gonna hear this, but y'all walk with me.
So,
Emmanuel Acho, you have positioned yourself as someone in the media who is known to have difficult conversations. And those conversations, the ones that's going viral at least, are conversations that you're having with white people, forcing white people to come to grips with the uncomfortability that they have with blackness, conversations about policing, etc. For those who don't know, Emmanuel Acho is an ex-football player, played for the University of Texas. I think he got drafted by Philadelphia. Didn't have an extensive NFL career, but is now a journalist, has a show on Fox Sports with George homeboy, what's that nigga? Marcellus Wiley.
Shout out to Marcellus Wiley, man. Shout out to you.
Now, Emmanuel Acho has been overly critical of Sha'Carri and her relationship with marijuana. He's made certain statements about how far do we go in terms of the conversations of legalizing or allowing marijuana, specifically in the field of track and field. Where he argues that, okay, runners, where you just got to run in a straight line, that's one thing. In a sense, deleted tweet, to be clear. This tweet has been deleted.
Sure.
But he says that running as a runner, right? That's okay. You smoke a little weed, you can run, whatever. That's what that is. But what if you're doing shot put? What if you're doing javelin, right? Should you be smoking weed and then throwing it? You know what I mean? That type of conversation.
Sure. Right. You're intoxicated, you're throwing a heavy object. Is that what it is? Like you are
right.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, right? Like, so maybe there's a legitimate conversation to be had in terms of where that sits, right? But when the first thing that you do is jump towards again, jumping on the bandwagon of being overly critical of Sha'Carri, pointing out when she's talking about she made the comment, they're gonna have to see me, you know what I mean, in terms of the people that she's racing that were in the Olympics. He pointed out how, well, in order for them to see you, you got to cross the finish line and all of that type of shit, right? You can't tell me that your agenda is to have tough conversations, but as a black man, you can't see how you are jumping on the bandwagon to humble a black woman that you think is a braggart, that you feel has some type of agenda that doesn't necessarily fit a respectable politic that you push.
Sure.
Now, brother, when we talking about having uncomfortable conversations, it ain't about what you talking about with white people. It's also the conversations that we have within ourselves. How are we as black people orienting ourselves towards other black people? And the one thing that we don't see and that we don't pay enough attention to is that we don't give black people the grace, right? The compassion,
sure,
the patience that we give to white people that want to talk to us about race.
Well, you know, I think something that's very unique about sports too is that in sports, a lot of the cues white people get to talk about black athletes and how to talk about them, they take from black people, right? Some of it, of course, is just always going to be anti-black, right? When they talk about how black players look at draft camps or at training camps and how they look like beasts.
What happened? You good? Yeah, give us a second. Just having some technical difficulties. Clearly, George and dropped out. So your shit fucking up. All right. Okay, George is back. You good, bro?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. My internet just.
It may be StreamYard, dog, because like that's the, and then it look like Toya having issues too. It may be StreamYard. Yeah, y'all bear with us. We was cooking though, right? We was cooking. Yeah, we was cooking. Yeah, y'all bear with us. We about to get it back, man. StreamYard is on some
No, go to your room.
She's talking to a dog, people.
I am sorry.
To be clear. Y'all bear with us. We cooking though, man. Yeah, right. We don't care. Like celebrities can get this work. Go ahead, Tony.
My bad. I cut out. Don't even know why. I don't know what happened. But this is what I'll say. The internet is sports media is already anti-black. You look at training camps, you look at drafts, you see the big black players, and they're all different weird ways to talk about and describe them. You see the coverage of like all that shit, right? Even domestic violence issues. We see those examples. But outside of that, I think that white journalists take cues from black people. Like, is it okay to talk about people? Is it okay to say it this way? Is it okay to do it this way? And I think this is where we get the comfortability, right? The people like the Emmanuels, the people like the there's a
even Roland Martin. I feel like I rock with Roland, but what his comments on this one too is still like, okay, Roland, like, what are you doing?
Well, here's the point that I'm getting at, right? Is they get to make these racialized comments and they get away with it because sports is supposed to be about the athlete. It's supposed to be about
the physicality, right?
Physicality, right? So it gives them license to kind of unracialize under the guise of competition and what makes a good competitor. And so you get to get off a whole bunch of wild shit, and wild people in particular get to say really wild shit about people like Serena. So when she gets upset and slams a racket or something like that, or when Sha'Carri says or has all of it gets tangled up and orchestrated in this real weird paradox of anti-blackness, sports journalism, a whole lot of gaslighting, and a whole lot of bullshit. So I don't know. This is supposed to be a snapshot. So I feel like we've kind of talked through a lot of what Sha'Carri has been dealing with. My aspirations and hope for her, a black woman, is that, especially as a younger black woman, that she continues to grow. The comments talked about her age a lot, which is something to remember. Like, we got to give people space. But you asked for the spotlight and the limelight, so your learning curve got to be quick. And that's the other thing we got to remember, because people going to hold you to it. So, but hopefully from here, you know, her racing can speak for itself, because I wasn't expecting her to come in 9th either, bro. Like, come on.
And I'll say this, and then I'll let you close it out, George. I mean, I think that when specifically black people, we're talking about sports right now, uniquely highlighting somebody like Emmanuel Acho, but in terms of media in general, whether we talking traditional media, print media, social media, whatever, we have a responsibility to our people. We have a responsibility to our people. The way that we handle our own people in these different forms of media gives other people, other groups of people, other races, it gives them a justification for how they come at us, right? Because a lot of times what you hear is even such and such says, even this person believes. And they're using a black person that's been critical of another black person to justify their racist, pathologized understanding. I said it better than I've ever said it in that moment. I'm glad we practiced before the show. But they take these perceptions of us as a people and they justify it based on the way that other black people perceive us. And so we owe it to our own people to make sure that when we are having these conversations, we are doing it with, like Toya said, the grace and the patience of our people to make sure that we're not giving other people a pass to wild out.
Yeah, and in closing, Toya used this word maturation, so I think I'm gonna close it around this word maturation. Miley Cyrus is 28 years old.
Come on,
look it up, right? In terms of being able to bounce back from shortcomings, as well as being seen as redeemable or redeemable, think about how Miley Cyrus is positioned. You feel me? When she out here doing anything in terms of being unprofessional and or unraveling. You know what I'm saying, quote unquote. You feel me? Before our eyes.
She got on the VMAs looking like an uncooked chicken, and everybody was gyrated on Robin Thicke, and
disgustingly,
it was great. It was great media, and she was able to grow from that and change and evolve into a wonderful, respectable art. So just moments, where we got to.
She evolved in her anti-blackness though, because when she got out of that phase, she was very critical of the people that she was appropriating. Go ahead.
The only point is that Sha'Carri is only 21 years old. And when we think about how maturation is used in terms of black people and white people and people in between, there's something to be said about how younger black people has maturation deployed against them in ways that's able to discredit who they are, where they come from, and how they get to move forward. Just a word on maturation, you feel me? And how we see how people should act or should not act based off of age and race. Because there's definitely some discrepancies there.
What's the next chop? I agree. Let's move to the next chop, though. Look.
All right, so let's get to it. The next chop is the conscious chop. And I think that it being the conscious chop is extremely on point because we're dealing with what's known as the conscious community. All right. For those who don't know, there is a figure on the internet known as Brother Polight. This is a black man who has claimed to written over 90 books, considers himself a motivational speaker, speaks on black issues as it pertains to the black mind, black finances, that type of stuff. Is known for saying a phrase that the black woman is God, right? Yep. Known for arguing with religious people, specifically the Black Hebrew Israelite community, and so he's a part of what's known again on in YouTube as the conscious community, right? People who talk about going back to Africa, like the Pan-African community, the pro-Kemet community. That is the more indigenous word for Egypt. For my white friends who don't know, Kemet is another word for Egypt. Is the word that they actually use themselves. So somebody associated with that type of
language. When they say Kemet, they talking about the entire continent of Africa, though, or Kibalan.
Well, yeah, it's nuances in that, and we ain't got enough time to do all of that. But in short, Brother Polight is one of those figures, like a Umar Johnson, like a Tariq Nasheed. Who else can y'all think of that has that type of? I think that's about it.
Right?
Sarah Sutton Seti. Yeah, all of them young Pharaoh.
Yada, something like that. His name.
Yeah, Yada. Actually, Yada was one of his students.
If y'all were a part of the Hidden Colors wave, might have any of those individuals, right? Because there were also what is the name? Cressler. What's her name? It's a woman.
Dr. Frances Wessling.
Yeah, yes.
Dr. Frances Cress Wessling. Yeah,
exactly. Cress Wessling. There are just a few women also too who are part of the movement. But that is where you would get a lot of that type of scholarship. And that they're a beauty. We see the comment. Thank you very much. We try to organize them so we can all follow along, make it all flow and make sense. But
break it up and disseminate it as well. But go ahead.
So thank you. But yeah, those would be some of the names that you would associate with this wave of consciousness, this wokeness, this Hotepian approach. And I use that air quotes because we about to share some knowledge. I use it.
No,
ironically.
It was
I use it ironically because we got to unpack some things. Air quotes there, but that is what you
right. Now, in order to set the stage for what we about to unpack, for Brother Polight, when you hear phrases like hotep, woke, conscious, outside of consciously, George is probably the only nigga who gets a pass with that shit. No bullshit. But when you hear those phrases, somebody like a Brother Polight is someone you would associate that with, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the ugly side, even before we get to the current allegations. More recently, Brother Polight has been known as a scammer. He is someone who's been accused in his 90 books, has been accused of heavy plagiarism, right? So from the works of people like Dr. Ben Yahukanan, that's another name. It's hard for me to pronounce. Check out the Diop, you know what I'm saying? Like the great authors that talked about the richness of blackness, that type of stuff. He's known to plagiarize a lot of that information. He's also known to do what's called status corrections, where you can remove certain things off your record, off your credit, right? All of those things have been pointed out to be a lie. People have paid him for services that they have not received. People have paid them to invest money in projects that turn out to not be real. A more recent example is Brother Polight was on social media claiming to do what's called a cargo minium project, where cargo, the freight cargo holds, the boxes, there was an effort to turn those into actual apartments. The people who were actually doing the cargo minium project had to come out and say, this Negro ain't got nothing to do with what we got going on. Right. So for a while now, Brother Polight's name has been mired in controversy associated with scamming, lying, plagiarism.
But that's in getting over, huh?
Exactly. Now we get to the more recent charges, right? As of this week, Brother Polight has been charged with sexual battery. Okay. As the story goes, or from what we know, allegedly, he took a 14-year-old to a club, then took that same 14-year-old, tried to take her to an after-hour spot. There was no after-hour spot available. Now, I want to point out to be able to take a 14-year-old to a club, you got some type of clout. It's like people recognize you somehow, right? Because they're not asking for ID and doing all that other shit. He then took the 14-year-old to a liquor store and hotel where he gave her the liquor, danced with her, touched her inappropriately. Where then the story goes, allegedly she passed out. She then woke up to Brother Polight sticking his fingers down her throat, trying to get her to throw up, right? Took her back to her mother.
He thought he killed her.
Right. Took her back to her mother, bruised face, bruised jaws, like face swollen. The hospital then the mother took her to the hospital. And there's some more sordid details that, just for the sake of not really being gross about the conversation, you know what I mean? That because when we talk about sexual battery, we know what we're talking about. Once she went to the hospital, she was then the authorities were contacted, right? And they noticed that there was DNA that was found on her clothing. That DNA was then took back to the lab, and as of this week, the DNA came back to be positive for Brother Polight.
Brother Polight, what's his real name, man?
Michael Nowak is his real name, which I actually have. I'll pull this up real quick.
Michael Nowak,
yes, 37 years old. And he's known more as a motivational speaker, but yeah, it's Michael Nowak. I was gonna pull up the story, but I didn't already said all the details. And once the DNA came back that it was his DNA that was found on the girl's clothing, he was then arrested this week, bonded out, and then now I won't say social media, but certain parts of YouTube are in an uproar about his reputation, who he was before this happened, and how we should move forward as a community, how that community should move forward. Now, before this conversation, how much did y'all know about Brother Polight? I know Toya said she didn't know too much.
I know about him. I know about him just because I used to debate with Hebrew Israelites all the time. They always be like, "You remind me of Brother Polight," or "That's some Brother Polight said," and they'd be like, "Man, I'm not watching no Brother Polight arguments on YouTube videos, man."
Right.
You know,
right.
So that's mainly how I know about him, and I guess I feel like I seen a video of him that went viral when he was talking shit about the Bible specifically. But outside of that, I don't know much about him. But I really ain't even steeped into the YouTube community like that. You feel me? It's only a couple people that I've come across because they've went viral once or twice. Other than that, though, you feel me? I don't really know about them. But Brother Polight, boy. I didn't been through a lot of shit and had to deal with a lot of shitty arguments as a result of something that Brother Polight did, said, or interpretation of him, and how whatever they had of him got inscribed onto what I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, never heard of him. Got my ear to the ground a little bit in terms of, like, for real, honestly, like, so there are a lot of I don't know another way to phrase them outside of like subcultures, right? But like the conscious community, for example, or like battle rappers, or like, so if you would have asked me, I'd have been like, do he rap, or is he which one of the subcultures that I kind of have an ear in, kind of have a pinky toe in, is he a part of? So it's like a name that I've heard of, but like a lot of people in the comments saying I've never heard of him, or I used to hear about him a little bit more, or something like that. But I'm not overwhelmingly hip. So this story is surprising to me. And like the more that, you know, you kind of break down who he is and I guess the relevance he has to a community, it starts to lightly explain Ethereal Beauty question. Because Ethereal Beauty asked the question like, why was she with him in the first place, and who is the mother, and how does she know him? Because those are questions like she didn't deserve to experience what she experienced, but we got to hold everybody accountable and culpable here. And we get these leaders and we get these individuals who say that they are capable of this, or who have the power to do that, or have this path to enlightenment or understanding or whatever the hell, and we give them the keys to the kingdom. And so why is your child 14 hanging out with this person without you being her? Like, why do they have this special intimate relationship where they just go out and kick it to the point where she can even be at a club with him to begin with? Like, I got questions. Why was he comfortable enough to assault her and then bring her back to you? And y'all start, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did he bring you back? Like, I don't know. There are questions that I have just about the nature of a lot of those things. But again, I'm just getting hip to who he is and kind of his relevance to other people.
And I like to give I could just give a friendly apology to everybody that's been through some things in their life.
Yeah,
I guess my man's Damo, and I ain't think about it either. Did not give a trigger warning for
my apology. And that's why I was actually trying to keep the language very, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, just speak to the facts. Yeah, speak to what like the facts of what happened. But I do apologize. This is a trigger. It is a trigger warning uniquely for anybody who's experienced sexual assault. And so but again, we're gonna keep the language very, you know, vanilla. Like, you know, we're gonna show respect for the people that's been through stuff like this. Now, when it pertains to the mother, there is a conversation about kidnapping charges associated that have been added after the fact, because the mother is saying that this was not something that she condoned, and that when she found out that her daughter was gone, she did try to get a hold of him and try to figure out what was going on. Now, when we talk about why he's been allowed to do these type of things, is that in certain, even though that some people don't know about him in certain communities, he is considered a celebrity. In what's considered the conscious community, this is the pro-Black, Pan-African internet community known as the conscious community. He was a champion against Bible believers, because there's a concerted effort amongst what's known as the conscious community to disconnect Black people from the Bible, which they see had been uniquely oppressive in determining who we are. And the Pan-African community looked at Brother Polight as someone who he spoke very eloquently, right? He used words that most people hadn't heard, and you know, his vocabulary and the things that he studied and the things that he talked about seemed to be outside of the realm of what most Black people talk about. Now, people like Toya, George, myself, a lot of people in the chat, and a lot of people that we fuck with wouldn't be really immersed in a lot of his rhetoric and conversation, because we are studied people, right? Like, so just because somebody uses language or words that we may not be
with 4 or 5 syllables don't mean we finna be wild. We gonna ask you what that mean, would explain this, that, and the other thing. We're gonna be able to smell and spot bullshit from a mile away, because that's what we was trained to do. You know, a lot of times the videos watch, you would come off to me as a person that's bullshitting, then cross-examination, trying to talk fast,
right?
In a way,
but this go way over your head.
Yeah, get it out.
Yeah.
Get it out.
I mean, but no, we've seen this. Like, just as an aside, it's a COVID video floating around where this it's like a scientist split screen. It's a TikTok video where this person who's an anti-vaxxer is like, and then you get in with the phytoproteins, and the scientist is in on the other side of the split screen listening to this.
Not true.
Like, yeah, no, yeah, okay, I could be, but no, I don't. That's just not true at all. I've never, what? I'm sorry, what? How did you get but this is how you have to scrutinize individuals, information from individuals who like to tout themselves as self-taught, and this is not that we overwhelmingly give credibility to white ass institutions either. It's that it got to be balanced, boo. I need some experiential. I need you to be an organic intellectual. I need you to be a specific intellectual. I need you to be a traditional intellectual. I need you to use all of those and Google them if you're not familiar with those terms and what they necessitate. But I need you to take all those orientations toward the conversation. I need your experiential knowledge, like what you've done. Like, so yeah, you gotta just have heavier scrutiny for a lot of these pseudo intellectuals.
And so that actually gets me to one of my main questions for this culture chop, or this conscious chop, excuse me. And that is when you have people who know how to manipulate language in a way that because there are some things that Brother Polight said that were true, right? There were things that, like when it pertains to Pan-Africanism, as it pertains to Kemet and certain aspects of blackness, he's on point, right? How do y'all think we hedge against predatory teachers who couple the correct information with a bunch of bullshit in order to manipulate large groups of people? How do we hedge against that? Because some of the information is right? Like the reason that Brother Polight was able to develop the audience was because he was telling Black people, free your mind from certain things that you've been expected, from certain things that have been placed on you. And when you have somebody that's telling you to be a free thinker, that's telling you to pull yourself away from things that are limiting your thought, that are distorting who you are, but then using that information to manipulate and prey on this group that he's educating, how do we hedge against that? Either one of y'all could go first.
I think Theory of Beauty hit it on the head in the comments with just 2 words: discernment and accountability. I think that it starts with people like Africa Bambaataa, people like Brother Polight, you know what I'm saying? People like that have already been able to revere a lot of following, a lot of influence, you feel me? And being able to show that regardless of your following and influence, there's still a protocol to hold you accountable in terms of what you've done, you feel me? And still there's some type of way to be able to feel like call you out and do it in a way that makes it where you can't get into the victimization of cancel culture. You feel what I'm saying? Not cancel culture, but call out culture. But I think it starts with 2 words.
Cancel that nigga should have been canceled. Go ahead.
Accountability.
Discernment and accountability. Okay, George.
I don't disagree. I want to shout out Gold Mind Tree Vibe TV popped in here, said what's up, and then reminded y'all to hit like, hit love, hit subscribe, all those things. Definitely happy to have you up in here tonight. But when it comes to what we have to do, I'm gonna take y'all to debate land, because this is kind of some of what we talk about in terms of, for example, undoing capitalism, right? Undoing the grip that capitalism has on our society. And one of the things that they talk about in particular in taking these anti-capitalist approaches is the principle, not necessarily the specific practice, but the principle of communism, right? And the reason why, like, they look to the Communist Party, I'm not endorsing the Communist Party, I'm endorsing characteristics of it, is decentralized leadership. Decentralized leadership, where there's a focus on the tenets, on the principles, on the major components of the movement, right? But there is a less focus on a particular figure or figures to mobilize it. Because what do we know about people? People will fail you. People will play you. People will mislead you. And so when we think about, how to navigate empowering our people and getting them knowledge and weeding through misinformation and disinformation, right? A lot of that is about, I think, decentralizing power. A lot of the reason why Black people haven't been able to liberate themselves is a lack of knowledge, but also looking to the perfect person to get that knowledge. And that person doesn't exist, right? I want to imagine a more collectivized group of Black people But first, we got to make decisions about what principles are important to us. That way, we're not following behind people, right? That way, we're not being mystified by their agendas, right? And I want to be clear about the difference between misinformation and disinformation, because both of them are what we're susceptible to, right? Disinformation is the very intentional orientation towards disseminating incorrect. There's a difference, right? Like incorrect information, right? The intent to mislead is there when you pass out disinformation, right? You want people to believe something that's not true. But misinformation is what you all are saying Brother Polight is guilty of, which is peppering in some truth with some fiction, right? With some falsities, which is peppering in some factual information, some real shit about how life, how history, how systems and structures have constructed themselves. And then saying whatever the hell else they want to outside of that. So we've got to kind of come up with filters that we have or that we use to take in information that don't allow people and personalities to start to frame out and box out the realities of the truths of what we're trying to
add to that too. Just to add to that too, because you said something about some debate about debate. Hey, shout out to the homie, man, Gene Rousseau Marquise.
Mm-hmm.
In college, Rashid and I had a debate against him and Hakeem. You feel me? It was the quarterfinals of the NDT.
Shout out to the homie Hakeem too,
I believe. You know what I'm saying? We was able to pull it out and win. But I remember one of the arguments that we made about Messiah is, I think I might have called the argument like the Messiahism or something like that. You know what I mean? But pretty much how when we get caught up in looking for the Messiah and or looking for the leader, that makes the leader hyper, you know what I'm saying, visible in terms of being killed, being jailed, being, you know what I'm saying, anything like
being
that.
Being scrutinized.
COINTELPRO and all that. So when we think of who gonna save us, that makes it where it's easy to identify ahead, to cut off and or to lock up. So I feel like one of the reasons why we end up falling into this same cycle is that we keep on looking for the Messiah and not recognizing that if we all took this type of leadership in ourselves, it would make it where the community would move forward in a way where we all saw the knowledge of self and the power of self, to make it where we're not looking for nobody else.
Yeah.
And instead, we conditioned to be like, we're looking for the next Martin Luther King. We're looking for the next Malcolm X. We're looking for the next. And then we have literally a market of people that get to try to be and monetize being the next X, Y, and Z. You feel what I'm saying? Instead of us being the masters of our own destinies type shit.
Bottom line, when we think about what's going to push the Black community forward, when we talk a lot about on here about Black agendas, and I always talk about the fact that it's hard to determine what's on one, and a huge reason why is because in order to determine what a Black agenda is, you would have to prioritize some things. In order to prioritize some things, you would have to have somebody who would advocate for the prioritization of certain things, and that person would be scrutinized and picked apart because social media, they're gonna post. It's a tweet they posted in 2016. It's gonna get them out here anyway, right? Not to mention, the millions of magnifying glasses that they're gonna be under. Just the nature of our society and the way we learn about each other and connect with each other, how we validate and invalidate. Like if there is to be collective movement, it cannot be in a person, because that person we would spend too much time. Hashing out whether the person was qualified enough to do it.
Bought out.
It has to be the movement has to be rise up. Since we using terms that we learned. No, Toy, how'd you take it?
I'm sorry. It was just. I'm sorry if I could put it back
because I wanted to frame it. I was about to say it, and I wanted to frame it, but the term correct, Toya, that it's rhizomatic, right? It has to be a movement that grows outwards, not upwards. You know what I mean? And being able, and what we mean by growing outwards is empowering other people to produce the same type of knowledge, the same type of teaching, the same type of positive impact that we're producing, instead of putting all our faith into this one person and building them up to be something that can be torn down, because we all people, bro. Like we all got weaknesses. We all, like, people love to pull up, like George as a social media influencer, they love to pull up his arrest record, mugshot, all type of shit. So it's like we are people. You feel me? But for me, I think what's uniquely dangerous is the Black relationship with celebrity worship.
One of my favorite. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
I'm gonna go in when you finish this. Yeah, but you're gonna frame it well for me. Go ahead.
Well, no, I didn't want to move on. I actually wanted to give a shout out to our friend and brother Rashid, right? Because when I think about building a better connection and relationship to consciousness or wokeness or the idea of Hotep, he was the first person to be like, that's part of my name, like that's part of my child's name. Like when you talk about Hotep, you need to come correct, you need to represent that correctly, right? You know what I'm saying?
That nigga name is Ankh Rashidi.
Yes. And so You know,
his name is Atan Rashidi. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to make sure I say it
Yeah,
right.
hey, we look, yeah. His name, yeah. So yeah.
but she really started to, you know, paint for me, you know, when we look at these leaders, when we look at these people who have been erected and celebrated as people who are leaders of movements and things like that, to keep the concept, keep the definitions of those terms in mind. So that not only are we not projecting negative things on people who are trying to be ambassadors of knowledge, of freedom, of information, of liberation for their people, so we're not incorrectly interpreting them, but also that we don't let people walk around under the cloak of consciousness or wokeness or Hotep, a Hotep enlightenment, without really walking and living in that. It's supposed to look a certain way. It's supposed to be a certain way. It's a concept and an understanding of a way of life that we should be protective of. You know what I'm saying? And to not pass it out to any old body and not to use it as a pejorative and project it on individuals who are out there really just trying to lead their people, trying to impart knowledge, trying to, you know, protect and prop up life. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that was just, you know, what I was thinking about. But you were talking about, you know, pop culture.
And we're going to explore that more in like literally just a second. But what I want to point out is that how, you know, Malcolm X pointed out how like our leaders and the people that we look to, Malcolm X and ironically Dave Chappelle pointed these things out. And I'm like, where's Ja? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
bro, like we as a people, because we've been denied the perception of like great leaders. You know what I'm saying? We've been denied the perception of us as a people having the capacity to be leaders, right? We've been taught that, you know, our leaders are people who have extraordinary abilities and that can speak like, you know, God is touching their brain and tongue type shit. Like, but while you got, you know, white world leaders, regular motherfuckers, like George Bush was one of the most mediocre, regular motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And he was president for 8 years. He was the quote unquote leader of the free world for 8 years. And up until the point that he became president was a regular motherfucker. You feel me? Yeah, his daddy was president, you know, all that type of shit. But as you look through the lines of presidents, senators, politicians, whatever, I mean, hell, you got wrestlers that have been governors of state, like white wrestlers that's been governors of states. They see
Arnold Schwarzenegger used to be the governor of the state,
of California, right?
Absolutely.
Another actor that we know, Ronald Reagan, governor of California, became president of the United States. It's only us. Like, we look at ourselves and be like, nah, that ain't, you know, for us to be like leaders of men and leaders of women and leaders of people in general, like we have to be something more than who we are. And that's a part of the problem. We put our understanding into the celebrities that have been verified and stamped by somebody else, right? That's who we view as who can be a leader. That's who we view as who can dictate the flow of our knowledge and what we should learn, right? And then when we find those people, we treat them like celebrities.
Yeah.
Right. We treat them like Brother Polight got treated like he was a rapper, even though he was supposed to be preaching like the black woman is God and, you know, all of this other pro-black Pan-African information. Yeah. He got treated like a rapper, right? Not like a teacher, right? Not like as somebody who we're going to take what you're talking about. We're going to go through it. We're going to take what's beneficial, spit out the bones. We didn't, as a people, didn't have a relationship. The people that knew of Brother Polight didn't have that type of relationship with him. And that's for like all of the black leaders that ended up having us like, damn, he smoked weed, he do this. I
mean, one other great example is like Sean King. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else who it has consistently.
Black. He's not black, but
okay. Well, again, the plot is thick. That is one of the case in points that I'm trying to make in relationship to individuals who get a lot of power, get a lot of ability, get the representational capacity in our community to do a lot of things, but upon further review are either just downright straight up lying at the cornerstone of their very existence, or end up doing scammy, problematic shit like what he's been up to. You know what I'm saying? So a different flavor of wokeness, a different flavor of consciousness, if you will. But again, somebody else who has been given the keys to the kingdom, been given access to the heartstrings of black people and what we think is possible and what we want for ourselves, and is been able to abuse and take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? So just another, great example.
Yeah, JM, real quick, George. JM, great comment. People don't look at black people as leaders, just entertainment, right? And that's why when we have black leaders, we treat them like entertainers. You feel me? Like we're fans.
I was gonna say the catch 2020, like this. Catch 22. This to get further what Damo was saying is that I feel like America especially doesn't want black people as leaders. Want us to be primarily entertainers, and likes to like specifically choose our leadership from a pool of entertainers. And that's kind of like the cycle. And I feel like that's getting to what the Malcolm X was talking about in terms of look at who they choose to lead us. You feel me? Like how the white community doesn't look to comedians and or actors to be, as leaders. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean, for the most part.
That's why I can't even Aaliyah Don, and I think somebody else is on here talking about it might be Kevin talking about The Rock potentially being running for president. And I think it's more the same with that, right? You get this kind of racially ambiguous dude named Dwayne that's really cool, that everybody loves, that he has access to blackness. I don't know if he identifies as black. I definitely think he identifies more as Samoan. I don't know if he identifies as black Samoan. But there are layers to it, right?
You say he mixed. He used to be like, my mom is African American and my dad is Samoan. I'm African
and I love The Rock. I'm the hugest Rock fan. I pick him over Stone Cold Steve Austin. His dad is definitely Samoan. But I see his mom, and his mom has, I don't know. I don't want to do the eye test, but I have questions about proximity to black.
Definitely racially ambiguous.
Exactly. And I think he gets access to that racial ambiguity, which is why he gets chosen as another entertainer to potentially win over the hearts of black people while still doing and winning over the hearts of the white people and the ambiguous people. And you get the Kamala, let's have some fake representation for Pacific Islanders and Asian people. Huh?
No, I said I was wrong. He said his dad is black and his mom.
I told you. I
thought his dad was a wrestler.
But I think that's all the more reason for us to scrutinize this whole Rock pick, in terms of being a leader for our community or a president or anything else. Plus, I don't want to not like The Rock. When you run for shit, I have to I start not liking you because you start saying weird shit because you have to fit into the box that you have been. That is the platform that you've been given. And so I don't want to move too far away from, talking about Brother Polight, talking about these charges, talking about what he represents for the community, but also making sure, again, we go to, because Aaliyah Don been lighting up these comments. Shout out to you tonight, definitely, for dropping some heat, but talking about how we don't need martyrs. We don't need more people to point to, you know what I'm saying, is the new messiahs of our communities. I think, there's a movie called The Black Messiah. We killed a really good one, or we didn't kill, but they killed a really good one. Somebody promised them we had, I think that was the last chance for us to have one individual person really kind of represent. So I think we've moved past that. I think the movement, the change, the revolution, the evolution, however you want to call it, will demand a different prototype to move toward liberation. And so I don't see that being the way.
Right. So
before you close it off, the reason why we call that argument the like around the word Messiah is because we know that is the language and the documentation of COINTELPRO. They want to stop the rising of the Black Messiah, and even the reason why they call that movie, you feel me, the Black Messiah, is because it's literally the terminology, it's literally the pathology that they put on Black leadership in terms of how to stop it. So when we think about moving forward, you feel me, I feel like we'd be damn fools if we didn't think about COINTEL 2.0, 3.0, and how we all being surveillance and monitored on the internet and our DMs and our text messages and our emails and all that. You feel me? But the thing to recognize out of this is what Fred Hampton really said. It's like, hey, they could kill the revolutionary, but they can't kill the revolution. But now going a step further and making it where we stop setting people up for failure, where we look up to them and or choose them to be the savior, because those saviors will always be like Jesus Christ crucified. You feel me? And it's just that, you know what I mean? Do we want to create martyrs, you feel me? And families to still, because you know what I'm saying, Fred Hampton Jr. didn't get to see his daddy. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like, you know what I mean, his wife, you know what I mean? So it's just really thinking about what we doing and how we doing it and how it influences people in terms of being targeted and being seen as hyper visible to be targeted.
And we do got one more thing that, you know what I'm saying, just a quick question in terms of like that hotep and that woke framing before we get out of here. But I do want to say this about what George is saying, is that in order for that to happen, we can't be fans of these people. Students are there to take in the meat, spit out the bones, right? We got to take what we can learn, but as soon as we hear the bullshit, we have to be critical, right? We can't turn off our senses of, people who are predatory, people who are problematic simply because they say things that make sense. They say things that we like. They make us comfortable, right? We shouldn't be comfortable with people that make us comfortable. We should always be pushing them to be the better versions of them, so we could be the better versions of who we are as students. The goal isn't to always be a student; it's to then become a teacher. And in order for that to take place, we have to be taking it in, but then also putting our own understanding and discernment and accountability, without a doubt. Appreciate that, Ethereal Beauty. Now, the last quick, we're gonna do like a quick survey, real quick. The terms Hotep and woke. Toya specifically used that term with somebody like Brother Polight, but then she also spoke to how a brother like our brother Rashid, y'all make sure y'all follow him, Perfect Prophet on TikTok, and Curse Crew on YouTube. Check out that merchandise.
Yeah, perfect Prophet on Instagram too,
and Perfect Prophet on Instagram and Twitter. Y'all check them out. Definitely one of my favorite Pan-Africans. You feel me? Really be dropping knowledge as it pertains to us as a people. But you see this duality, right? You see people who respectably are carrying the torch for Pan-Africanism and pro-blackness being connected to that Pan-African nature. But then you have people like Polight who kind of smear and fuck up that title, right? When we hear the terms Hotep and woke being deployed, they have now become a pejorative. Thank you, Toya.
Sorry.
That was a pre-conversation that helped me make sure I had the right term for that. It's now become a pejorative, right? It is a negative term to call somebody a Hotep. It is a negative term to call somebody woke. When those terms were first introduced into the Black community, one, it was to, again, connect us to our Pan-African roots, right? That Hotep was associated with, it was like it meant peace.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So it's a phrase that came. It's a phrase that came out of Egypt that we didn't deploy to again create that relationship, right? Then you have woke, which speaks more to somebody who's quote unquote conscious, right? Somebody who sees the social engineering, the social planning, right? Who sees above what you're told to believe. That's how those terms were introduced to us as a people. Now, when we hear those terms, Hotep refers to people who mimic or portray themselves as people who want to be Egyptians, and they want to be Africans, and they tell us that we should act like Africans, and they do all of this African shit. But then when you look at who they are as a people, there's a lot of questions. And then woke is the new term for a social justice warrior, right? Somebody who talks too much about what's going on in society and don't have enough issues and that type of shit, right? So knowing that these terms that had these positive relationships with Black people are now being used as pejorative, negative terms, should we not actively work to detach those words from the negative terminology and bring it back to its positive framing that it was first introduced as? Like, is that something we should? And this is a question to the chat as well. Should we take back the framing of Hotep and woke from mainstream conversations and give it back its positive affirmations? Go ahead, George.
I think that yes and no, right? I feel like definitely it should be. I feel like we should always remember the positive and or more uplifting parts of these terms. But I think that I feel like in terms of language and rhetoric, there is a way in how we get to use words and the duplicity. And the word I've been thinking of since you started introducing this conversation was, about the N-word, and how based off of context, how you deploy the N-word can be very uplifting or it can be very degrading, even based off of being a Black person. Somebody in the comments asked, who was it that made it negative? I think that, it's based off of what I know now, who made it a bad thing. Kevin, you feel me? Asked that. Us as Black people, we started deploying the word in a way where it became derogatory in terms of associating it with a particular aesthetic. So I think that when we say the N-word, you feel me, there's ways that it can be uplifting. There's also ways that it could be like, man, this nigga shit. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? And I think that it just speaks to the fluidity of the way that us as Black people deploy language. But I recognize as well the slippery slope in terms of how it gets weaponized by mainstream America, by white people in general, and being like, because when a white person call you woke these days, that's bad. Definitely. You feel me? You feel what I'm saying? And what's going to slowly start to happen is, so far you don't hear Black or white folks saying Hotep, but because they want to be with the cool and want to always incorporate and adopt our language. Eventually, we're going to see on the internet white folks calling people hoteps. You feel what I'm saying? So I recognize the duplicity in it, but I think also a part of that's inevitable. You feel me? And we ain't got to always already garner ourselves based off of how white people are going to interpret and or try to use and abuse what we do, because we know how white supremacy set up, especially when it comes to commodification of what we're doing. It usually be inevitable. You feel me? But that's my 2 cents on that specifically right now.
So to be clear, and before we get, because Toya already kind of briefly touched on it, so I feel like she's going to explore it a little bit more right here. But so you saying that it's similar, like these terms and the way that we look at rhetoric and language is similar to how we use the term nigga. It can be both a positive and a negative. I like that. Go ahead, Toya.
Agree 1000%. When we think about woke, one of the things I really want us to do is to remember kind of its origins. And I think Lee was kind of getting at this a second ago, which is going to sound kind of like an echo. But when we think about wokeness, it has somehow transformed itself to be a term to explain political correctness in general, right? For you to be woke means you're just kind of up on how things should be socially. And so, to create a non-aggressive or non-problematic political climate. But wokeness, it its very origin started out to be a concept that was explained between Black folk. That was like, you hip about what's going on, like racially, like you're tapped into what, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not asleep, like in terms of racial, specifically racial issues, you are tapped into what's going on. So you know what I'm saying? So we got to make sure that we keep a hold to our language, just like everything else that we give away or that ends up on the inside and all of a sudden ends up on the outside, or starts on the inside, ends up on the outside from our culture, to be better gatekeepers for what we allow people to get a hold of, because wokeness started to gain wings and fly away because people misinterpreted it. In terms of hotep, I think that term needs rebranding. And I think I saw a concept that said, rebranding takes too much work. What was it Aaliyah Don said? Sometimes rebranding is too much hassle. We are a creative people. We will come up with another one better than before. And so I definitely agree that, we need new terms, new concepts. We need to look back into the lexicon of our people, because these are not new terms, right? Hotep is not like a term somebody made up 20 years ago. It's a historical and textual term that explains the peace and relationship between peoples from the perspective of African knowledge. But when I think about rebranding, I think Black people started using it as a pejorative because they recognize that a lot of hotep politics do leave out queer folk, do undermine the power and the utility and the contributions of women. Right. And so those became ways to make sure that the flavor of Blackness that you were talking about was very distinct from that hotep shit. Right. That doesn't account for and leaves out a lot of space for, questions about gender that allow for us to look at the fact that gender is some shit that was a construct given to us when we got over here, and that, Africans and deities and the average common person didn't have the same rules of gender that you trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are concepts with people who ascribe as hoteps or identify as hoteps have to come to terms with too, right? That there has to be a bigger, broader conversation about who fits into your Blackness and your agenda of liberation too. Cause I think that's where we started to get a lot of attention as people started feeling excluded from what hoteps were projecting as good, right, and true Blackness, right, or methods of liberation or whatever. But at the same time, agreeing with what we've all said here, there needs to be a breaking and reshaping and a re-relationing to those terms by Black people who, just for the sake of just historical accuracy, don't misuse and don't misdeploy those terms against people who come in peace. You know what I'm saying?
What's credible about the word being the pejorative is that the word, I think, started being deployed as a way to kind of expose how hoteps, quote unquote, use authenticity tests to try to literally quantify somebody's Blackness. So if you were a woman in a particular way that wasn't respectable to this, that, and the other, you were seen as being, you feel me, inauthentic and or not good, brother, sister for the movement, this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other, in the ways of how this authenticity test would get deployed based off of one's Blackness and or the way they explore being a Black, the way they perform being a Black person, or the way they are a Black person. I guess they perform because we are Black.
So I'll say this, and then because I think y'all made some great points, to be honest. Because I guess I agree with both of y'all. That's, I guess, because I think George is making a very convincing argument about language and how, like, with everything comes a duality. It's about the context and how it's deployed. But I think that we do have to put forth an effort to give it that duality, just like we have to put forth the effort to give nigga the duality that it has. We have to make the argument of like, nah, this is what I mean when I say it. It's a difference when I say my niggas and yo, we don't fuck with them niggas over there. Like them niggas are like, yo, some nigga shit. You feel me? Like that. You know what I mean? I can say my niggas and not mean a negative and say you on some nigga shit and that having a negative connotation. So
sure.
But we had to do that though. You know what I'm saying? We had to make sure that, hey, y'all not seeing what's happening culturally with this term and what it means now, regardless of where it came from. Shout out to Noel. Said George, Toy, and Damo, thank you. Appreciate the emotional labor, and I learned from you. Chop Up is the best night of the week. We agree. We agree.
Love.
Monday that this Monday is always wonderful. But so in terms, I do push, even though I agree with the question of the duality, I do push more towards having a rebranding, a reclamation. Not even a rebrand, because it's not a brand. We're not talking about commodified shit. We're talking about terms that have been taken away from us, right? That we have deployed culturally, and just like everything that we do gets commercialized into popular culture. When woke was in Hotep was commercialized in the popular culture, like I do see somebody in the chat said that the first time they heard the word woke was on Dear White People. You know what I'm saying? And it was a joke. Or Hotep. It was Dear White People, and it was a joke, right? Yeah. Even though like Dark Side or Lex pointed out, yo, that it means peace, right? In an ancient language that we are connected to because of the continent of Africa. Right, so that the way that we as a people, our culture has been colonized, and the way we've had to fight to take back and redefine and give meaning to, we need to do the same things with woke, with conscious. I mean, I think George does a good job of holding on to the conscious name and you know what I'm saying, giving it its just due. But when we talk about especially terms like Hotep, because that's a cultural term, that is a term connected to a people. You feel me? We cannot allow people like Brother Polight to dictate and to steal away these terms that still mean something to us or get tossed out because they attach to sordid or irredeemable characters like this.
Agreed.
You feel me? So that reclamation, fuck a rebrand, we need to reclaim. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? That's the unless I got anything else to say, that's the conscious chop for the night.
That's the conscious chop. We definitely have had, I think a great conversation tonight. A lot of people want to show love. Y'all been having these comments jumping. Y'all always do, but particularly tonight, Margot, I saw you pop in here. You was like, I'm a little late, but I'm here. I made it. Thank you so much for popping back into the conversation. Seeing you these last couple of weeks has been lit. Pinky Promise Life, definitely going off in here. Rings ablaze. All of y'all. Aaliyah Dime, like I said, you've been lighting up the comments. Noel been in here talking to us all night. It's just love for y'all.
Dark Side Reloaded.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've been seeing a lot of people from Solar Vision pop in here and say what's up and see what's good. So shout out to Solar Vision today. You know what I'm saying? Like it's family. Christopher's always in here. Magda showing love in here. Just definitely a lot of different voices.
For sure.
Some of the same, some of them different, but y'all are family, y'all are crew, so we got to make sure we shout y'all out. It's another wonderful Monday night. We're going to get this content up. It's on YouTube and Facebook first. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts later.
Ethereal Beauty, shout out to Ethereal Beauty.
Ethereal Beauty, always showing love, always dropping heat, always gang family up in here. So definitely it's a family affair. And we're going to get that content up to you soon. Here's my announcement to y'all. I need y'all to listen to me good. Okay? Once upon a time, the Chop Up Show. Shout out to Margot up in here. Thank you so much for showing love. Thank you so much for showing love. Once upon a time, the Chop Up Show used to have music, right? A huge component of what we did, new content, new perspective, conversations, just really trying to come up with these topics uniquely, is to make sure y'all getting a plug on new music. Right, to make sure y'all hearing artists and hearing people who trying to get a leg up, trying to get out here and really got something to say, or whatever their art is, right? Music, if it's instrumentals, if it's beats, if it's spoken word poetry, if it's art. So we got Fly Music Friday, and I'm trying to make sure we get Dark Side. I'm here to troll Damo and get consciously in that debate. I like how you left me out of it because I come in peace unless you want that smoke. But what I'm trying to do is get Fly Music Friday popping again. I'm trying to get an end of the year Chop Up mixtape going with all of our artists that we've collected over the year, but I need your help. So if you have art, I don't care what kind of music, just make it good. Because if it's not good, we might not we might still have to go back to the drawing board because we're trying to.
And look, we keep it a stack, right? Like we don't want you wasting your time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey,
come on. But we do want to feature y'all. We want to feature good music. So if you got some good stuff, send us DMs. Hit the DMs, send us what you got. Let us know what's going on. If you know somebody who you know they good, you listen, you know they popping, and they need a bigger platform. You wish more people heard them. We just want to do our part. So make sure you send music, suggestions, information. We're going to just choose. We're going to be subjective. Choose what we choose. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm not going to fight with you. It's a chop-up show. We're just going to choose some fly music.
Send it all.
And make sure we putting it out there on Fridays. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and throw me something. Anonymous Hebrew, it's love to you. Thank you for popping in. But make sure y'all contribute to Fly Music Friday. Noel, George will not be able to dance alongside any of these tracks. We want to leave these people out of it and let his dance and speak for itself.
That shit, George's dance move, that shit stays on the consciously page.
Yeah, that's the dance move, gyrations, and jiggulations of George Lee do not reflect the views and perspectives of the Chop Up.
The Chop Up.
It does not.
Right.
It does not.
Love the nigga to death.
But look, I'm dragging it. At this point, we want y'all's talent. So if you got heat, if you know somebody with heat, send it to the DMs at the Chop Up Show, at the Chop Up Show, at the Chop Up Show. If it's on Twitter, Chop Up Show Pod. We want to hear it. We want to add it. I want to get back to playing and introducing people to good music and good information. Throw a beauty. Yeah, musician. You know some people. Send them on here. But I think that's the end of the show. Consciously political plug. Anything else?
Nah. You can find me TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at The Political Plug. Also, you can find me on YouTube, Solar Vision Debate League on YouTube, The Argument League on YouTube. Shout out to SVDL, man. Everybody getting it in.
Hey, starting September 1st, man. Got Conscious Conversations coming to y'all on YouTube exclusively. Live every Wednesday night. Shout out to y'all hating on my dance moves. You feel me?
Hold on,
and on Fridays, I got Fan Base Fridays. You feel me? Those mornings, and the Dish Dialogue I'm saving. That's when y'all gonna see it. You feel me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Wednesdays, Fridays, definitely got some things live coming y'all way weekly. You know,
right?
Anonymous Hebrew, I picked up what you was putting down. Yes, jigulation is a word. Yes, gyration is a cousin of gyration. And doing all that moving, them hip thrusting, all that stuff, George.
Hey man, just spell check next time.
It's time for the percolate.
Hey, I don't even like y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth, man. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with us. It's been a beautiful Monday night. I'm here with my brothers, and you can't tell me nothing about them. We'll be back with y'all next weekend or next week. And in the meantime, we'll be putting some content up for y'all to double tap, like, love, and share. Subscribe, do what you need to do. But have a great night. You know we love y'all. Take us out.
Hey, so y'all know how we do. We end the show the same way that we start the show. Let's get it.
Me, my guys, we really live. Lord, forgive me, pay my tithes. Please don't have me reach inside. And that's in the console. Keep the semi when